Today is a special meeting. As you all know, we moved our meeting that would have been Tuesday to today. I'm going to go ahead and read the special meeting notice that we put out. Honorable Commissioners of the City of Virginia Beach Development Authority, Virginia Beach, Virginia, regarding special meeting June 13th, 2025. Dear Commissioners, pursuant to the bylaws of the City of Virginia Beach Development Authority, dated December 19th, 2023, I hereby call a special meeting of the authority for Friday, June 13th, 2025 at 8:30 a.m. This special meeting will be held in the authority's boardroom located at 4525 Main Street, Suite 700, Virginia Beach, Virginia. The attached agenda sets forth the business of the authority to be discussed at the special meeting. This special meeting will take the place of the authority's regular meeting scheduled for June 10th, 2025. The June 10th, 2025 regular meeting is hereby canceled. The special meeting will be broadcast on cable TV and www.vbgov.com. Citizens are encouraged to submit their comments to the authority prior to the special meeting via email at k.vbgov.com. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me. Thank you. Sincerely, Lisa Murphy. All right, with that out of the way, Kayla, has anybody signed up to speak? No public comment today. Great. Next item on the agenda is a review and approval of the meeting minutes from our May 13th meeting.
Motion to approve.
Got a motion from Mr.
Second.
Franklin, second from Mr. Keplinger. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Next item is a review of our financial statements for May. Marvin? You're up, Howie. Good morning. I can go ahead and
Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners of the VBDA, council members, and Vice Mayor. I actually have two presentations for you today, so I'll try to get through it a little quicker, especially since it's Friday as well. But for our operating cash account, at the beginning of May, we had approximately $7.6 million in cash. During the month, we received $12,282 in cash receipts of interest income, and during the month, we had cash disbursements of $77,854 for the International Incubator Furniture Replacement that was paid to MOI Incorporated. We had just over $15,000 for the monthly conduit management that was covering the period of May 15th to June 15th, which was paid to Global Links. We had $38,234 for the Innovation Park Master Plan and Subdivision Plot. That was actually 2 months worth of payments, and that was made to VHB. We had $12,572 for legal services for the Atlantic Park project through March 31st. That was paid to Davis Commercial Law. And finally, we had $4,684 for the Atlantic Park parking garage screening study. That was also paid to VHB. And that leaves us with an ending cash balance on May 31st of $7,420,060. During the month, we also, the VBDA made these payments at the beginning of the month, and then they were reimbursed by the city right towards the end of May, so there was net zero for the overall cash balance. We had two payments to Atlantic Park. One was for $704,358, and that was for the draw number 27 for the entertainment venue. And then we had $910,130 for the draw number 27 for offsite infrastructure. Both of those payments were made to Venture Waves. We had a few payments to Innovation Park, or payments and reimbursements to Innovation Park. We had $208,891 for the draw number 18 of offsite construction work. And then we had $526,887 for draw number 19 of offsite construction work. That first one was through March 31st, and the second one was through April 30th. And both of those payments were made to Architectural Graphics. We had a little over $4,000 for construction phase services through March 31st. That was paid to Kimley Horn, and a little over $3,000 for geotechnical testing services for VHB. Finally, we had two payments and reimbursements for related to corporate landing, $151,256 for the draw request number 2 for utility construction. That was paid to Seabreezy, and then just over $9,000 for new roadway and Pond C final design, paid to VHB. For the capital maintenance account, we had a payment for the amphitheater. We had a parking lot improvement plan payment to VHB for $4,186. That left our ending capital maintenance balance at $581,498 at the end of May. For the Human Services Building, we received the monthly lease payment. They pay a month in advance, so that was for June of $47,910. Then we also had payments. Both of them were related to the roof replacement. The first one was for construction replacement, for the construction and replacement phase, payout number 4. That was paid to Simpson Unlimited for $589,299. And then we also had for re-roofing, the design phase, paid to HBA Architecture for $9,820. That leaves us with a ending cash balance of $2,015,734. Finally, for the VB National Golf Course, we received the monthly revenue share agreement. That was $21,579. And then we had a payment, actually 2 payments. One was for the roof replacement and one was for the HVAC replacement. Both construction admin and both paid to HBA Architecture. And the total of that was $18,156. That leaves us with an ending cash balance in the national capital maintenance account of just over $2.2 million. For the initiative and incentive and initiative account, there wasn't very much activity. We had one payment for the facade improvement grant. That was for a new entrance sign for the Vintage Cauldron. That was $3,307. And then that leaves us with an ending balance for the FIG cash account of $95,585. And then there was no activity in the small business grant program or the biomedical research incentive. So we have cash balances for those, for the small business grant of $521,728, and the biomedical research, we had just under $533,000 in actual cash. There was also no activity for the EDIP cash account. So at the end of May, we had appropriations of $11.1 million. The amount encumbered by Part A was $4.8 million, and the amount encumbered by Part B was $625,000. That leaves us with EDIP grant funds available for future awards of $5,643,526. And that's all for the monthly activity, or monthly financial activity.
Any questions for Howie on that? Hearing none, do you want to move on to the budget?
Yep, sure. That's the next agenda item. So yeah, the other presentation I will be giving today is for the fiscal year 2026 proposed budget. I split these slides up in a manner similar to the monthly financial activity, so it's broken out by operations and then the different types of expenses and revenues. So for just the general operations, we're not, outside of Corporate Landing and Innovation Park, we aren't expecting any sale of lands. We have industrial revenue bond fees of $679,350. For the lease income for the outdoor cafes, just under $20,000, which is pretty similar to last year. For the International Incubator, we're expecting lease income of just over $4,000. And then for the Weston Town Center Conference Room, anticipating $50,000 of lease income. I didn't put anything for interest income or miscellaneous income. There will be at least some interest income, but I didn't put it in the budget because I'm not sure exactly how much it will be. For the operating expenses or expenditures, these are all pretty similar to what we had last year. The general and administrative, $35,000. For the amphitheater box seating, that actually went down. I thought I updated that. That should actually say Live Nation box seating. And FY25, we actually switched over to the dome from the amphitheater, and so that didn't cost as much. And going forward, it will be the dome as well. For the annual receptions and events, we're anticipating $20,000. Audit fees, $23,000. And then I also put on there, which you'll see in a second, a transfer to Corporate Landing. That's also in the operating cash, so that's not actually, it's not actually gonna affect cash, but we kind of separate the Corporate Landing and Innovation Park. And we are expecting some cost to improve Corporate Landing Business Park. So these are the operating projects. We had for Landing Park, we're anticipating some additional legal inspection and support expenditures. Based on last year, I budgeted $600,000 for that. Innovation Park, we are gonna have some revenue from land sales of $2,558,000. And then you'll hear about that, I think, a little more later in the meeting. And we will have, related to that same land sale, we'll have some costs to improve the land before we sell it, $576,000. And then we also have, similar to last year, architecture and engineering fees of $150,000. For Corporate Landing, again, this is for the operating. We're anticipating land sales of $481,500, and then we are also planning to repurchase some land for $2.5 million. We actually had that in last year's budget, and that didn't end up happening. The repurchase didn't end up happening last year, so we moved it forward to this year. We're expecting capital improvements that will not be reimbursed of $2,380,000, and that's where that transfer from the operating cash came into play to cover those expenses. But again, it's just, those are both operating cash accounts. We just kind of separate that out for tracking purposes. Architectural engineering fees, pretty similar to last year of $200,000. Maintenance and landscaping of $54,000. The conduit management expense of $187,000, again, pretty similar to last year. Utilities and other expenses of $39,000. We also have 110 South Independence, which that building was demolished, but we still have, we're still paying, it's just for the stormwater because of the parking lot and the concrete plot over there. Lachelle Place, I showed it because we had some expenses from last year, but that will be sold here early in 2026, so we're not anticipating any expenses for that. That leaves a net proposed use of operating cash for fiscal year 2026 of $2,977,849. And then as you can see down there, the operating cash from my last presentation is just over 7.4 million. For the initiatives account, we are anticipating some expenditures. The LifeNet, we have some supplemental payments to LifeNet for taking over one of our leases of $250,000. And then for the facade improvement grants, we're receiving from the city revenues of $100,000 just for the general facade improvement grant. And then this year, we're also gonna have an award related specifically to Atlantic Avenue for $250,000. And then for both of those, we are anticipating to, I think for this facade improvement grant, we've already kind of encumbered some of that, but we're anticipating to spend the full amount that we receive from the city for those programs. And then finally, for the small business grant, we have, in the last presentation, you can see we still have some cash for that, and we're planning on using that in FY26 and going forward. For the capital, the VBDA, for the capital maintenance accounts, we have the amphitheater. We received revenue, we will receive revenue from the city of $200,000, and planning, similar to the grants, planning on using all that. I believe most of that is going to be used for the parking lot improvement plan. For the human services building, similar to last year, we received that same amount of monthly rent, so I budgeted $574,928. And then the amount that we are still expecting for that roof replacement for the human services building, some of this was carried forward from the prior year's budget that wasn't all used up. But in FY26, we're anticipating $1,343,000. And you can see the cash balance for the human services building down there. For the Virginia Beach National Golf Course, we're anticipating revenue of about $175,000. And then similar to the human services building, what we anticipate to have left for the HVAC replacement and the roof replacement at the golf course is $1.4 million. And then finally, for the capital maintenance account, we'll have a new one in fiscal year 2026, and that will be for the Atlantic Park entertainment venue. The anticipated revenue share that will go back to the capital maintenance account for future repairs is, we anticipate it was a little hard since it's opening this year, but to be on the safe side, I anticipated $125,000. And then we also get a revenue shared, which actually should be in the operating account probably. But that is, we get 50 cents for each ticket sold, and we anticipated $62,500 for that. And then the final budget item is the annual appropriations for the EDIP. We have just over 1 million. That 250, there's actually 250,000 more appropriated, but that $250,000 came out of here and went to the Atlantic Park Facade Improvement Grant Program. And that is the last slide for the budget. Any questions?
I
I just want to have a comment, if it's okay. Mayor Obendorf used to always say, no good deed goes unpunished. And y'all have done such an amazing job with the general facade improvement. And Atlantic Avenue, you know, we're going to be putting a lot of emphasis on that coming up. But we thought that we could do the same thing on a different scale for Atlantic Avenue to incentivize the improvements of what Atlantic Avenue looks like. And so we don't know if that's the right number or not, but it's a good, we think it's a good starting point. And you're gonna really need to do probably some different criteria. I don't think the $10,000 is gonna work for a big hotel. You know, it might work for some of the little storefronts. But, so I guess you and the staff will need to work on the criteria to work on that.
We're happy to take that on, because I mean, we've really seen the facade improvement grant program has had a wonderful impact, I think, on other parts of the city, so I think focusing on Atlantic Avenue will be right up our alley. Now, is there a subcommittee, or is there a task force that's looking at
There's a
that?
task force that's been appointed by the mayor, and Worth and I are the liaisons to it. And we're gonna start meeting next month. And kind of looking at the whole Atlantic Avenue, because we were supposed to have, it was supposed to be a $48 million project, and then it came in $60 million over budget. So we said, we just, you know, that's a bit much, so we rolled it back, and so we're gonna try to retool it and figure out what would get the most bang for the buck, and see what really kind of improvements that are gonna be made, that's gonna be really cost effective, but really give our visitors a much better experience. You know, when you come here, you wanna say, I'm on vacation. This is a happy place to be, and so we're gonna be working on that, and that'll start in July. Is Worth here? Do you wanna say something about it?
It's good. I mean, like you said, retool it, and, you know, there's been a request to extend the vibe. I mean, we need to be creative on Atlantic Avenue and be cost conscious, but it definitely needs to be addressed, Atlantic Avenue, so look forward to it.
So I think was it 35 or 38 million that we're.
35.
Yeah, 35 million that we're still gonna put towards improving the roads of Atlantic Avenue.
Sounds good. Well, we're happy to.
Thank you for taking this new task on.
Yeah. You're welcome. We're happy to be involved in the process. All right, any,
Sorry, yeah, any other questions? Sorry.
okay. Any other comments, questions? Bill, anything jump out at you?
No, it's pretty ordinary course of business this time around.
I guess I don't know if it's in the agenda. I know last year we approved, I watched the presentation from last year. If there's no major concerns, I think it's recommended if we, vote on the budget, this meeting.
All right, so we will go ahead and vote on the proposed budget for fiscal year 2026, which starts July 1.
Yeah.
Got a motion from Mr. Brunke? Multiple seconds. Go with Mr. Weisenseal on this one. All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries. All right, thank you, Howie.
Thank you.
Next, on to the exciting business of the day. Got a presentation from Paige on an exciting announcement.
So good morning, Vice Mayor, council members, Madam Chair, members of the authority. First, thank you for being here on a Friday morning for this. I know out of the norm. So we are excited to bring forth to you Project Encore. And I can officially say that Project Encore is the expansion for acoustical sheet metal. So acoustical sheet metal couldn't be here this morning due to the preparations for this afternoon, but I thought it would be important to read a quote from the acoustical sheet metal CEO for this. Acoustical sheet metal is proud to announce our continued expansion in partnership with the Commonwealth of Virginia and the City of Virginia Beach, who have supported our significant business expansion since 2019. The next phase of our expansion will allow us to continue to execute our strategy as the leader in power generation integration and Again, doubling our capacity in a very dynamic and fast-paced environment supporting the data center industry. In conjunction with our expansion, Acoustical Sheet Metal will continue to provide opportunities for leadership development and expanded skills training, driving enhanced standards of living for our dedicated workforce. Our employees are the foundation of what Acoustical Sheet Metal values, and we remain focused on providing further opportunities for their success. With that, take a look at the disclosures. And a little bit about Acoustical Sheet Metal. So they manufacture the sound reducing and weather protective enclosures for on-site power integration and control centers, mainly for the data center industry. They have a site at Production Road as well as Innovation Park. Right now, citywide, they're about approximately 500 employees. Touching on the expansion in Innovation Park, so in 2020, we dedicated 20 acres to Acoustical Sheet Metal. This was the match to the Commonwealth Opportunity Fund grant at the time. At the time of this announcement, they also still had their facility on Production Road at 182 employees. They still retain that today. For the expansion in Innovation Park, for Phase 1 and Phase 2, they were projecting two 100,000 square foot facilities, 200 new jobs, and then what was announced at the time for capital investment was just for Phase 1, and that was at $15.8 million. To date, what they have done in Innovation Park is built 235,000 square feet, created 380 new jobs, and invested nearly $43 million. In red is the site we're going to be touching on today. And then some background. So we were alerted to Acoustical Sheet Metal in 2024 that they had interest in expanding to a Phase 3 facility. At the time, the parcel in Innovation Park was a little bit smaller, so we received an LOI for one 135,000 square foot facility. As that parcel was able to be expanded in Innovation Park, in 2025, we received an updated LOI from Acoustical Sheet Metal with the intent to build 250,000 square feet. Approximately 100,000 square feet in a fabrication facility, 100,000 square feet in a finishing facility. For a contiguous footprint, they would connect the two, adding an additional 30,000 square feet and then a 20,000 square feet service facility. They projected $45 million in capital investment and 350 new jobs. In the LOI, they proposed $147,019 per usable acre, noting that this is part of a local incentive to match the state, which I'll touch on later, and then asking the BBDA to remove all medium and large trees and all piles of dirt on the site. So this is the rendering, or the rough rendering of their concept that would go on the site, again noting the fabrication facility and the finishing facility at roughly 100,000 square feet connected in the middle, and the 20,000 square feet service facility at the bottom there. The economic impact for this project, accounting for the public land acquisition, roughly $2.5 million, $34 million in building construction, and $9 million in machinery and tools, bringing us to a capital investment of over $45 million. Again, their retained employees citywide is roughly about 500. They would be adding 350 new jobs, bringing us to a citywide employment of approximately 850. Again, after this expansion is complete, this would make Acoustical Sheet Metal one of your largest employers in the city of Virginia Beach. I also wanted to touch on the economic impact of their expansion, specifically in Innovation Park. This is accounting for the taxes incurred for real estate improvements, as well as the taxes incurred through Phase 1 through Phase 4 of construction and through Phase 1 through Phase 4 of employment. This economic impact analysis was done for us by the Hampton Roads Alliance. So the actual impact for Phase 1 and Phase 2 in Innovation Park, net present value about $1.3 million. The 20-year projection for Phase 1 and Phase 4 at the end of the 20 years in Innovation Park is a net present value of $14.5 million. So touching on the proposed term sheet, again, this is to sell the 21 acres in Innovation Park to Acoustical Sheet Metal. The purchase price being $147,019 per usable acre at 17.4 usable acres, which I'll touch on in a special term. Due diligence, 180 days from purchase agreement execution, an additional 180 days if a CUP is required, which we anticipate one will be required, and closing 45 days from site plan approval and all of the other permits. The The elements outlined is Phase 3 at approximately 100,000 square feet, Phase 4 at approximately 100,000 square feet. Facilities to be constructed simultaneously with Phase 3 constructed and operational within 3 years, and at the end of the 5 years, both phases fully operational and all the hiring complete. Total investment not less than $45 million and 350 new jobs. Touching on the special terms, so this approval was contingent on the company being awarded a Commonwealth Opportunity Fund from BDP at $1.75 million. The authority will sell the parcel for the value of $147,019 per usable acre to count towards a local incentive and award an EDIP grant and the amount remaining to reach the $1.75 million. At closing, the authority will escrow $576,000 from the purchase price received towards the costs associated with the removal of the dirt on the site. This is assuming that 18,000 cubic yards at $32 per cubic yard to be hauled off and 500 cubic yards to be retained for berm screening along Princess Anne Road. And additionally, the authority would contribute up to $150,000 for the removal of all medium and large trees. Again, touching on how we got to the 17.4 usable acres, and your term sheet just wanted to highlight. So there are 3 easements on the site in Innovation Park due to the restricted nature of these easements: Southeastern Expressway, Dominion Energy easement, and access easement. We are only accounting usable acreage for half of the acreage of the easement, bringing us to the 17.4. A recommendation, noting this would be 2 votes, is to approve the resolution authorizing the sale of 21.97 acres in Innovation Park to Acoustical Sheet Metal on the terms and conditions set forth in the term sheet, and then awarded $828,130.60 EDIP pursuant to Part A to provide the remaining match to the Commonwealth Opportunity Fund at $1.75 million. Any questions?
Yeah, any questions for Paige? That was a lot covered in a few slides.
Yes.
Bill?
Just a comment. Some of the numbers certainly are larger than maybe we're accustomed to seeing in some of the transactions we have, but that's why I do appreciate the slide that you provided with the net present value, where we have a net present value of over $14 million. I think there's some context that needs to be provided with that.
Absolutely, and I will note too, as it relates to authority incentives on the 20-year projection, that represents a 242% return on investment.
Thank you.
And that, the net present value number includes the income tax, like an estimate of what the income tax?
It's accounting for the tax generation from your real estate tax and then taxes incurred during construction and employment.
Not income tax.
Oh, sorry, not income tax. Okay. That would make it obviously even higher.
Yeah, this is just for the local taxes.
I think if you go back to that slide real quick.
Sure,
Just quick note, I think the numbers might be flipped. The cumulative value is lower than the net present value, which is unusual.
On that one, it was, again, so these numbers came from the Alliance, we talked through them, just the cumulative impact accounting for some inflation. At the end of the 20 years, they anticipated that the net present value would be lower, but on the first one, you're right, on actual,
It's actually higher. Okay, interesting.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Paige? All right, so we'll need, is it just the one motion or 2? Okay. So the first one will be a request for approval of the resolution authorizing the sale of the 21.97 acres for the Project Encore expansion. And then the second will be the request for the resolution for the EDIP Part A award. And we'll go ahead with the first one. The Chair will entertain a motion on the request for approval of the resolution authorizing the sale of the 21.97 acres for Project Encore.
So moved.
Got a motion from Mr. Junt and a second from Mr. Standing. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries. All right, the next will be a request for approval of a resolution of an EDIP Part A award in the amount of $828,130.60 to Acoustical Sheet Metal. Got a motion from Mr. Franklin, a second from Mr. Weisenseal. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries.
all.
Thank you. All right, the next item on the agenda is Alex, a request for approval of a resolution regarding town center security contract.
Yes, ma'am, this is a housekeeping item and not nearly as exciting as 800 jobs. As you know, the authority owns the 5 parking garages here at Town Center, and we contract with DeVar's Property Management to provide security services in those parking garages. 2023, you approved a 2-year contract with 3 1-year optional renewals, and we're here to ask for the first renewal be exercised. The total fee there is about $384,000. That, most of that is personnel costs, as the security is provided 24 hours a day. Staff has reviewed, believes the charges to be appropriate, and we would ask your approval.
Does this come out of our general fund or the,
This is paid out of the SSD, I believe.
okay, that's what I thought.
So in effect, the project is paying with the
Paying for
after
the
tax.
services. Councilman Berluci?
Thank you. I have a question, and I'm just using this request as an opportunity to bring something up, but I think it's relevant. We receive a lot of questions and concerns about some of the, some behavioral or mental health issues and the impact of homelessness, particularly at Town Center, as well as some other questions such as, I don't want to get into specifics for variety of reasons, but related to security of the garages. And I'm wondering if this contract accounts for the increase in the instances of issues that we've experienced.
In terms of staffing, I believe they've increased the staffing, but we need to confirm that.
Yeah.
In terms of equipment and that sort of thing, I know it's an ongoing discussion between our staff, DeVar's, and the police department. And we'd be willing to continue that, and if there are solutions, we'd certainly look at that.
Just wondering if the contract contemplates the current conditions.
I mean, when we entered into it in '23, it was, yeah, I'm gonna say it does, because they're constantly, I mean, DeVar's is on the ground every single day. Our folks are here and the police, and so they're discussing, and had something come up in this renewal where we said, hey, we need to shift and do something different, they would have, and we didn't get there.
Mr. Standing?
Is this included in the cost per space for maintenance or the garage?
That's a separate, this comes out of the special tax assessed at Town Center, the extra 47 cents on the real estate rate.
But does, so in all garages, is the security services typically included in the cost per space?
I'm not sure.
All garages
In the
across-
acquisition cost or the?
All public garages across the city that's in the parking program, it's the security services included in the cost per space for
I
annual
I
expenses?
honestly don't know how that charges work at the oceanfront.
It's all separate?
And Town Center is its own model because it's free.
Sure.
Well, I guess that question put a different way, is the maintenance separate from the security? And it sounds like that is. Okay, so those are different, but it's all paid for by the tax, the incremental tax coming from this district.
Correct.
Which is another way to put it, it's not part of our budget. All right, I've got a motion from Mr. Franklin.
Just real quick, are there cameras in the garages?
I do not know the answer to that. and
There's no
there you go.
cameras at all.
That's what I was trying not to say.
I can tell you firsthand.
There is an initiative to make sure there are adequate coverage in cameras. It's an ongoing procurement and implementation project. They could be better, and we're working on that.
And that would be done separate and apart from this contract. The people performing the contract would have use of that technology, but it would be a separate cost.
Would we be the ones installing the technology, or what's
Yes.
parking
It
man?
would, but it would come through the authority because it's your asset, or their assets.
Well, Sorry, I just want to put a finer point on what I was saying. I don't think that, I'm concerned, and I hear from a lot of people who operate and own businesses in this area that the security posture at Town Center is not adequate. And I'm just using this chance to say, I mean, this may not be the best, this contract renewal may not be the only way to address it, but I'm just utilizing this opportunity to say that I think we need to find a more robust security and safety plan for Town Center.
We certainly can discuss that with the VARs and the police and see if there is an acceptable solution.
Alex, is there a way to, because it looks like the extension has to run from July 1, so this would be our last meeting before that. Is there a way to have a conversation with them or make the approval of the extension conditioned on some additional discussions around where we might enhance security?
I would suggest we approve this
Go ahead,
and
next.
in discussions, because they're as vested in the security as we are.
Right,
So
right.
if we come up with something in the next couple of meetings and say, we would like to either amend this contract or add an additional expense, we can certainly do that.
Councilman Berlucci, would that work for you if we go ahead and extend and then look at how we might better address security issues? And if there are specific issues, I mean, obviously, we could take those to DeVaris, but as Alex said, I think they're just as invested as we are in having
They are.
the whole area be secure is really important to them and to all of the tenants here at Town Center.
A lot of the issues come to us from DeVaris initially, so they're doing what they can with the money they have.
Thank you. Who collects the data on incidents, and how often is that reviewed, and who's engaged in all of that?
I assume it's the company, the provider, and for the rest of your question, I do not know the answer.
That might
We can
be
figure it
a
out.
useful data point.
And it's not just, and then it's the last time I'll further refine my comments. But let me give you an example. The people who work in restaurants, servers and other people who work in the kitchen, they leave restaurants in groups to go to their cars in city and the garages because they're concerned for their safety. And anywhere in Virginia Beach, I just don't think people should have to do that. It's degraded.
We'll certainly take that information to the.
When can we get information on the cost of the cameras? I mean, I think and then I think that combined with the information incident reports will give us some ammunition to spend the money.
So if we could get an update next meeting, that would be good.
Yes, ma'am. I believe we have a motion and a second, but we.
Do you have a motion and a second?
Trying to help you out.
And a lot going on today, yep, all right. So we've got a motion and a second, some additional discussion about getting more information about security and what we might, how we might better implement security, especially after closing time for the restaurants and the retail. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Thank you, Alex. Next item is our VBDA assets, and we've got a presentation from VHB on a potential Innovation Park Master Plan, for the expansion of Innovation Park. And obviously, as you all know, we just voted on the sale of approximately 22 acres, and that doesn't leave us with a whole lot of any land left in Innovation Park for other businesses. Welcome, Randy.
Thank you very much. My name is Randy Biltz. I'm with VHB. So, overview. The site we're looking at, Innovation Park, is the site highlighted in yellow. Most of the land that we're looking at is gonna be planned south of that, just west of the Virginia Beach National Golf Course. The general lay of the land is, pretty flat. just like everything else around here. We've got a couple of constraints with the Princess Anne Commons Special Economic Growth Area, the interfacility traffic area, and of course, the aircraft noise levels, the AQ's setup. So the reasoning behind this is try to figure out how to expand Innovation Park and get the highest and best use of the land that works within the constraints that are on the land now.
Randy, can you point, it's hard to tell what's yellow. You have a pointer?
Is there a pointer on here? It disappears on the screen.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be this little sliver of land. Is that one? Ah.
Old school.
Yes, so the yellow here is
There
the
you go, okay.
existing Innovation Park. That's Virginia Beach National Golf Course.
Okay, thank you.
And the athletic complex is right there. So all the land that we're looking at for this expansion is basically down through this corridor.
Can I ask a question real quick? How many acres is that on the expansion?
I think we're about 700.
Okay.
Total is what we're looking at. I will break down each section in phases so we can see exactly what we're talking about as we go through.
And Randy, the different colors on there are the AQs?
So the AQs, the pink on the outside are the lower noise levels, and they get higher as we go into the center. So we've got 70, 75 in green, 65 to 70 in the pink, and then higher in the beige. So the existing Innovation Park, I was gonna say that there's 31 acres of developable land left, but that number's now more like 10.7 after what we just heard. So this is now the expansion of acoustical sheet metal. So the only land left for Innovation Park are these two parcels in the back, one at 4.8 and one at 5.8. The green area in the middle is an area dedicated to preservation or passive recreation, along with preserving wetlands. The darker blue is just where we would need to expand stormwater to accommodate any kind of development that happens in here.
Is the green wet or is it just a preservation area?
There's a combination of wetlands and just preservation area or passive rec. This is a high-level look at the proposed Parks and Recreation master plan for the same general area. A lot of the things are not built yet. The East and West Village parts of them are currently built. Because I don't have a pointer, the baseball, softball fields are there. Everything in the center is there, but the baseball facility, cross-country, championship, pickleball, disc golf, BMX, everything wrapping around the outside is a proposed item, and everything to the south is proposed. So the proposal for Innovation Park Master Plan, this is a 25-year master plan. The thought here is to make it connectivity between all the phases of Innovation Park, from what we have now all the way down to North Landing Road, to have it all interconnected, so all the parcels can be accessed from each other if need be. It gives us multiple options on how large or small tenants can be on that site. On the side, on the chart, you can see where we're at. We've got phase 2 in the orange. We're at like 68 acres. Purple, about 300. That's phase 3. We've got a potential preservation area of 100. and then 163 acres of stormwater around the site, and another 55 of known wetlands that are around the site. There we go. So, referencing back to that Parks and Recreation master plan, the master plan had a area set aside that, number 2, here in the center of the screen, which was set aside for a championship baseball facility. Trying to offset that and make both of these plans work well together, there's an area to the west of the existing baseball facility at Princess Anne Athletic Complex of 71 acres that we felt could be a suitable relocation of that championship baseball facility, not only to tie the whole baseball complex together from a Parks and Rec standpoint, but also allow Innovation Park to expand down where their facility was to make it a more comprehensive plan all the way down to North Landing Road. Everything you will see is dancing around the 10-acre live oak preserve that's in the center of that orange parcel, number 2. Also, you can see there's a 25-acre in an Innovation Park of wetlands or just passive recreation that continues the open space.
Can I, another question real quick?
Sure.
The bottom part of that is to the west
To
of
the west.
of the baseball fields, of the golf course now, correct?
Yeah, so I'll go back here real quick. So that area, let's see here, there's the baseball complex. So it would be just off the map to the west.
And Randy, that area has recently become available, correct? That was land that Avangrid had an option on, that they've terminated the option. So that was land that was otherwise spoken for that's now become available,
Yes.
right?
So phase 2 of Innovation Park, roughly 68 acres, excluding the 16-acre Storm Pond and the 10-acre live oak preserve. What that does is it provides an immediate connection to the existing Innovation Park. All we have to do is they extend Hugh Dome Way, and it provides an immediate connection to Lansdowne Road and Innovation Park as it sits today. Again, obviously, that purple highlighted area of 21 acres is now spoken for, so that will be developed, and the purple on the right, this 4.8 is the next closest available land. There's a site here and there's a site just off the page, but the first expansion phase would be this one. The area is broken down into 2 parcels, 28 and 40. They're not set in stone. It's just showing what can happen for a acoustic sheet metal who wants a 20-acre site or someone who needs a larger site. So it can be smaller sites or larger sites. Phase 3 is the large site. So all of this is predicated on the Lansdowne Road expansion. It's on the future transportation map. So that everything would be accessed off of Lansdowne Road. Again, we've got 2 parcels shown at 164 to the west and 134 to the east, but they can be broken down into 5, 10, 50, 100, depending on what user wants to come in and how you want to divide it. We didn't want to break it down and make an assumption of how it should be used when really it's going to be user-based. So someone may come in and say they want 100 acres. Well, you can give someone a 100-acre site. We based everything stormwater-wise on 30%, knowing that the soils aren't great and we have a drainage issue, so there's a lot of open space on these parcels. And we tried to keep it around the perimeter to help buffer the surrounding properties from this development. And then on the furthest south, right next to North Landing Road, there's a 62 on the west side of Lansdowne and 22 on the east. That is dedicated for agriculture, environmental, recreation uses, but again, creating a buffer from the North Landing Road uses. So a real high-level economic impact of what this project could bring to the area. Based all these areas that we talked about on a 30% building cover, if you give it an assessed value of 74.36 of value per square foot, you look down at the chart, phase 2 would be 888,000 square feet of buildable area. So we would have an assessed value of 66.1 million, and then your tax value, your estimated annual tax revenue of 640,000, and plus or minus 740 jobs. And those jobs are based on, if it's an industrial use, 1 job per 1,200 building square feet. And I skipped over that, but the estimated real estate tax is 97 cents per 100 of assessed value. In phase 3, the much larger area, we're 3.8 million square feet of potential building cover, which would give an assessed value of close to 290 million and an estimated revenue of $2.8 million and roughly 3,200 jobs created from those. Again, very high level at the master plan level, but clearly a very attractive use of this land. So that was a high level. Questions? Be happy to dig in a little further.
So, and I just wanted to go ahead and say, as you all may recall, and actually, we've got a couple of newer members who were not members back in December, but back in December, we had a round table with the existing businesses in the city of Virginia Beach, including acoustical sheet metal, architectural graphics, some of the bigger employers in the area. And Randy, if you could bring that up, one of the things, or one of the pieces of feedback that we got specifically from acoustical sheet metal and architectural graphics was when they planned their existing expansions in Innovation Park, they had been told that Hudom Way was going to eventually go all the way through to Lansdowne. And that was something that was important to them. And that was even before this additional expansion of acoustical sheet metal. So one of the things that we had looked at was, well, can we expand Hudom Way in the manner that they had been told that it would be expanded, and from a traffic and transportation standpoint, that really makes the most sense to give them another way into and out of the park. So that was one of the things that we talked about. But the other thing was, these businesses are going gangbusters and they're looking for opportunities to expand. And there is very little, if any, industrially zoned land in Virginia Beach. And frankly, there's a shortage in Hampton Roads in general. So looking at, because the city's going through a comprehensive plan review right now, we wanted to make sure that there was an opportunity to put out a potential 25-year master plan for how could we expand Innovation Park, and how could we take some of the thousands of acres of land that the city already owns in that area and look at how we might do that in a responsible way. I mean, if you see what VHB's done, they've left a buffer to North Landing so that we've got a line where development would really stop, and they've placed the stormwater and the buffering around the edges of the property, so we do end up with some buffering around uses, and that was based on some feedback that we got from folks that live down there. So this has been a work in process, but it's a way to get, what would a plan look? Because we've got 25 years. We're almost out of land now. The other thing that this gives us is the opportunity to go after state funding. So if you have parcels over 50 acres, you get state funding, or you can apply for state funding for infrastructure. And that's what we're gonna need. We're gonna need state funding for infrastructure. So, none of this happens overnight, and all of this would require rezoning, which is a whole different process that goes, there'd be studies and whatnot, but this is just a conceptual plan for how we might be able to expand the park in the future.
What would the process be to get the road put into place, the extension?
Well, so the Lansdowne section is on and maybe the vice mayor or council members know, but that's on the master transportation currently, yeah. So all we would be proposing, where does the road end? Can you show us, Randy? So we would just be, in the short term, expanding Hudom Way.
Hudom Way ends up in Innovation, so we'd have to make the cross where the stormwater ponds are. There's stormwater ponds there, and then Lansdowne ends somewhere in here.
Right above that yellow parcel.
Yeah, so we just have to extend Hudom to there for that first phase.
Right. The road exists up to that point.
Right, it does exist up to that point, yeah. So it's just the Hudom part of it. And then the rest of Lansdowne through the purple, that doesn't exist, but is on the CIP.
What's the timing on the CIP? The reason I ask it, clearly that road is what's going to be needed to unlock the development potential. So what's the timing associated with that? Do we know?
We'll let you know in a second.
Curious.
We don't know. That's why I think unlocking some of the state funds is going to be important, and I will, shamelessly tell the governor today that we'd like for him to unlock some state funds. But that's going to be part of it, and that's why it's a master plan, right? This is a responsible way to try to expand to make sure we have the land available for existing and future businesses. But given we do have some constraints as far as budgeting, and we will need some help from the state to come up with the funding for the infrastructure. Any questions?
One last
Yep,
question.
Bill.
Is there do you have an overlay, or maybe if not, you could highlight it for us by pointing the Parks and Rec proposed plan as compared to this, particularly the southern part? You showed on the northern part where the baseball fields and whatnot could be migrated westward. On the southern part, how much of that purple overlaps with the Parks and Rec plan? Is it all?
No, I don't think it, so the,
A lot of it, anyway.
yeah.
Up there, 1 and 2 is where it's located.
Well, this overlaps.
Right.
And
That's what you suggested could potentially have another place to land.
right, that could potentially move over here.
Okay.
There's there's baseball complex here now. And so it's 71 acres, that's 72 acres. So where we overlap is where they're showing some greenery here. But otherwise, I think we're not I don't think we're overlapping anywhere else down there.
Correct.
We're not. So it is only the baseball.
And it's
only the baseball that we're overlapping with.
just a portion of it, right? So if you look at 2, I think their plan shows the use of expansion on both sides of,
Well, yes, they have a pickleball facility shown. Sorry, I keep walking from the microphone. They have a pickleball facility shown up here, which is north of Hudom. The baseball facility is all south, and that's exactly where ours is. So it's a swap of 72 acres here for 71 on the other side of the baseball.
yeah, okay.
And no overlap in the purple.
Nothing down here overlaps with their master plan.
Thank you.
And nothing in the light green, right? So above Hudom Way doesn't.
No, we're not expanding north of Hudom, so they still have room for their pickleball facility, which is shown on this map.
And then the green, right now, the green area is just wetlands preservation. I think our thought there is that that could be used by Parks and Recreation for some sort of a passive recreational use. I mean, we do not have plans to develop that.
No, there is no plans to develop it, there is wetlands there, and, you know, by the definition is, you know, of these development areas, they want contiguous, green spaces, so the idea was even within the Innovation Park expansion, you would be able to have these BMP areas, green spaces that you could still tie through, to get from the park all the way through. So if someone working in the industrial park could potentially take a trail all the way up to the park if they wanted to walk at lunchtime. Just from an integrated standpoint, the idea was to be able to break it all up, not just create the buffers, but to be able to break it all up.
And can you, so around the area that we've got, the purple where you're showing the buffers, how much of that land is still city-owned land? Because I think there's a big chunk of it still, right, that's still city-owned?
All of it? I think all of it is city-owned. I think everything we've shown on this map was all city-owned land.
So everything to the left of the buffers?
Yeah, so everything in here is all currently city-owned land.
And to the left of the buffers.
And to the left of the,
Yes.
yeah, I think to the left, and to the
Yeah,
right,
over here.
probably, yeah.
That's where the Parks and Rec master plan for the cross-country, or the hiking trails, and I think there's a kayak river access a little further west as well. That's all that area, which is all currently city land.
Okay. So it's really just a small area, part of the orange, where there is potentially a conflict.
Correct.
I think.
72 acres to be exact.
So the two can coexist.
Yes, very nicely. David?
So speaking from a Parks and Rec standpoint, they have no problem with moving. Okay, they just need a directive on what to do with their part, and, you know, where that's gonna come from. I'm trying to, there are a lot of moving parts here, I'm trying to say this slowly and correctly, but they need to have a directive on what to do, and we need to have a directive on what to do, and nobody has a directive on what to do. So that's where, you know, like,
Well, and so this obviously is our plan for expansion in the next 25 years, and it has to go to council, and ultimately it'll be,
and so does theirs.
right, both will be, potentially adopted and part of the comprehensive plan. So this is really timed so that we can, get out ahead of it. And this really is something that should be addressed in the comprehensive plan.
Just not this time. It could be amended into the plan, but not into the plan like this year.
I would suggest that it be a part of this needs to be part of the plan this year.
Emily, do we have time for that? I mean, we're talking months now, right? Till,
So the comprehensive plan is, they've completed their final review at the commission level. They'll be entering into the second phase of public engagement in July. Those meetings are being scheduled, and so that would be an opportunity for additional public comment, to be conveyed to the staff that they'll then take back to the planning commission and then ultimately city council. In addition, staff is working to create a map and a model through our GIS system that will overlay various perspectives for utilization by this body, by the parent body, and by city council. That's what's coming and should be available in the next few weeks.
okay.
Amanda, is that part of the the upgrade of the database to categorize and incorporate all city-owned land?
It's part of that. It's also because of the various planning perspectives by various boards and commissions, as has been mentioned here, there's lots of questions about like what can coexist, what would require certain things to shift. And so to provide you all, the Parks and Rec Advisory Board, the ITA Committee, there's various bodies that all have a significant interest in this area. And so we thought an exhibit of that nature would be very helpful for everyone to see, and then lead us to a place where we can receive guidance from the council about which direction to pursue.
I'll add real quick. So the current master plan for this area is the ITA master plan. The Parks and Rec plan that you've seen hasn't been adopted yet, nor is this one, but I believe the recommendation or planning is headed is as a recommendation in the comp plan to relook at the ITA master plan and come up with what it should be moving forward.
And to that end, as Ms. Archer said, we are hoping to have that briefing to the body in advance of recess, but to be scheduled.
I have an answer on the CIP question. Phase one, which takes the improvements of Lansdowne Road, making it a 4-lane roadway down to where it has its 90-degree bend south of the future intersection of Hudon Way, is fully designed and it's supposed to go to construction in 2028. Phase two, which takes it down to North Landing Road, is on the master transportation plan, but currently is not funded. But we know with the city, when things are hot, they can move chess pieces.
So Ken, would you show us, so it's the 4-lane extended that's going to be complete in 2028. Can you show us where that extends to? So that takes it past where Hudon Way would come in?
Yes, just beyond that. If you drive down Lansdowne today, it comes down and does a hard 90 and then goes over towards Indian River. That improvement goes down to this point.
Okay, so by 2028, Lansdowne will be fully extended to that point.
This construction will begin full 4-lane roadway. It's already designed.
Okay. It's just past that, really into the purple is.
Into the purple.
future. Okay.
What better motivation for public works to build the road than adding 300 more acres of potential development?
All right, any other questions for Randy? So to David's point, I think this is timely. I mean, now's the time to think about how we're out of land, how we potentially expand this in a way that, is, works with the master plan that Parks and Rec had proposed. For those who don't know, David's on the Parks and Rec committee. All right, any other questions for Randy? As this is sort of moving, I don't think there's anything for the body to vote on at this time. It's informational. It gives us an opportunity to put this out to the community and to discuss with Parks and Recreation. All right.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much, Randy, and to VHB for their work on that. The next item is a request for approval of a contingency for VB National interior renovations.
Good morning, members of council, Madam Chair, members of the authority. Thank you, everybody, for being here this beautiful Friday morning. This is one of 2 presentations of mine today. So the first, we're going to talk about the Virginia Beach National Golf Course. So a little background, spring 2024, the facility condition assessments were completed. The VBDA authorized $180,000 to be utilized for interior repairs in January of this year. When the bids were open, the lowest bid was for Venar Construction in the amount of $259,827. That was approved by the board. The flooring, windows, painting, exterior and interior lighting were all part of that bid. So the interior renovations began April of this year, and they're going beautifully. I can't wait for it to be finished for you all to see it. So we have found some unforeseen construction needs. When they began to remove the wall coverings, there was unforeseen moisture damage on the walls. So that was not anticipated in the original scope of work. So what we're asking the board for today is 15% of that $259,000, totaling a little south of $39,000 for extra contingency for these unforeseen maintenance issues that need to be corrected.
Pam, do we know do we think that's going to be sufficient based on what they've seen so far?
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. We've gotten all of the wall coverings off that were causing this issue that we noticed. And we've gotten really good estimates of what they would charge with their change orders.
Do we know what caused the water damage?
I have not been able to get that information from the operator.
Okay, is it something that the contractors can look into?
When they remove the wall, they could definitely look into what they think. I can ask them to do that.
I mean, do we think it's coming from the roof, or do we think it's coming from a system, interior system?
Without removing the wall, I can't say for sure. I would need to have that wall removed so that we can actually look into it. I think it's both, if I'm being honest, with the roof that we just replaced in there. And I do think that there were some plumbing systems that failed. But until I can get those walls removed and really investigate the who, what, when, where, why, I won't have a firm answer for you today about that.
But at least we fixed the roof, so if there won't be any continuing moisture damage from the roof. Okay.
No.
Any questions for Pam?
Motion.
Got a motion for Mr. Franklin, and a second for Mr. Standing. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. Next item is also Pam, 110 Independence Boulevard.
So as you all are aware, you did approve the laydown yard that is at 110 South Independence last year. This is a project that is being done by Parks and Rec. This is for the Thalia Creek Greenway project. So they had a delay in obtaining materials through the grant that they were awarded for this project. They had to have specific lumber in order to do this project. So they didn't actually begin their construction phase until March of this year. And because of that delay with the lumber, they're needing an extension. They're anticipating to be completely finished by December of this year. So the laydown area already, it follows the requirements of the CZO. We did ask them at our initial ask, which the board approved, to have opaque screening placed, and they did abide by that request as well. The access is still gonna remain the same at Garrett Drive, and they are requesting to utilize the location until December 2025. We did keep that 30-day notice to vacate, should there be some reason to ask them to do so in the future. And that is our ask.
And Pam, that's more than enough time, you think?
I did speak with the project manager for Parks and Rec. He is very confident that they will be finished in December.
Okay. Any questions for Pam on that Parks and Rec extension request for the laydown area?
Motion.
Got a motion from Mr. Keplinger, second from Mr. Brunke. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Pam. Next item is a Part B, EDIP Part B award for Columbus Town Center. Got a lot on the agenda today.
Good morning, council members, Madam Chair, VBDA commissioners, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here to present an EDIP Part B request on behalf of Armada Hoffler for Columbus Village. And I would like to acknowledge Jennifer Harris, Senior VP of Development, and Amy Adams, Development Manager. Excuse me. 2 minutes, a lot of disclosures here. Okay, so some of you might recall that back in 2018, Armada Hoffler invested $9 million for the redevelopment of Barnes and Noble retail shops and the construction of Shake Shack in Block 17. And you all awarded an EDIP Part B of $607,581 for the streetscape work. Today, they're setting their sights on the redevelopment of Block 16. So basically, the project scope is the redevelopment of the existing vacant shopping center in the Pembroke Strategic Growth Area. The former big box consisting of 37,505 square feet will be subdivided into 3 spaces to house a boutique, a grocer, Golf Galaxy, and a high-end retailer. And they're planning on investing $13.6 million with an estimated completion on November 2025. So basically, the request is to cover the streetscape work, just like what we did for Block 16. I have a breakdown here of the costs for a total of $375,670. This is the project's elevations. And basically, the request is to go ahead and approve the EDIP Part B in the amount of $375,670. And I take any questions.
Questions for Isan? So Isan, the EDIP is for improvements in the right-of-way above and beyond what the strategic growth area would normally require. So this makes it.
Yes. Yeah. It aligns, it certainly aligns with Part B of the EDIP policy.
And no announcement yet on that boutique grocer, huh? I think we all know who it is, but no formal announcement, right? All right, any other questions? Looks like a great project and a great way to fill in a former big box. It really does.
Yeah. And I'm very excited. I live in town center.
There you go. I think a lot of people will be very excited.
It's gonna be a dangerous one.
Yeah. All right, so I'll entertain a motion on the request for approval of a resolution of EDIP Part B award in the amount of $375,670 to Columbus Town Center 2 LLC. Motion from Mr. Weissman. Was that Mr. Meeks? Second for Mr. Meeks. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Next, we have administrative information. I just wanted to have one note, and this is based on the announcement we had earlier today. This afternoon, we will be holding an official event with Governor Youngkin and Mayor Dyer to announce Acoustical Sheet Metal's expansion. The event will be taking place at their Phase 2 facility, 2009 Hudome Way, Virginia Beach, with arrival time at 1:40. If you've not done so already, please confirm your attendance with Paige. So all the commissioners are invited to that. I know all the council members. It will be a great opportunity, and the governor will be there. Any priority items or announcements, discussion from commissioners? All right. Deputy City Manager Jarrett, will you be giving our director's report?
Good morning. We've covered quite a bit today, and I know we have some additional items for discussion, so I'll be brief. Just wanted to say this is our busy time at the beach, and we've started off with a great resort season so far. I hope everyone was able to either attend or see the activity at the oceanfront related to Jackalope the other weekend. Action sports continues to be a key driver for the city. As was mentioned earlier, the comp plan workshops for public engagement are being scheduled for July, and so that would be important for you all to review and attend and offer comment as you see fit. In addition, we also made a reference earlier today to the master transportation plan. which is another key plan critical to the future and development of the city of Virginia Beach. That draft will be placed on the website within the next 30 days. So we will make sure that a link gets sent to this body for your ability to review and comment on that plan as well. Upcoming, June 21st and June 22nd, every inch of the oceanfront will be activated. So we're excited to again welcome the Point Break concert, expecting over 17,000 people a day for that. We'll have Pride at the Beach. We have Juneteenth celebrations. So make sure you stay in tune with that. As the Vice Mayor and Councilmember Berlucci mentioned, the Atlantic Avenue Improvements Task Force is scheduled to begin their meetings in July. Those meetings are open to the public and another key asset to the city. So that will be a very interesting discussion amongst that task force. Lastly, we look forward to seeing everyone later today at the governor's announcement for a wonderful addition to our local business community in Virginia Beach. Thank you.
Thank you. Amanda? All right, any questions for Amanda? If not, the chair will entertain a motion to recess into a closed session pursuant to the exemptions from open meetings allowed by Section 2.2-3711A Code of Virginia as amended for the following purposes. Contracts, the discussion of the award of a public contract involving the expenditure of public funds, including interviews of bidders or offerers and discussion of the terms or scope of such contract, where discussion in an open session would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711A30, and that pertains to Districts 2 and 5. Legal matters, consultation with legal counsel and briefings by staff members or consultants pertaining to actual or probable litigation, where such consultation or briefing in open meeting would adversely affect the negotiating or litigating posture of the public body, and consultation with legal counsel employed or retained by a public body regarding specific legal matters requiring the provision of legal advice by such counsel pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711A7, and that pertains to District 6. I'll need a motion, a second, and then we'll have a roll call vote. Got a motion from Mr. Keplinger.
Second.
Second from Mr. Brunke. Kayla?
William Brunke,
Yes.
Taylor Franklin.
Yes.
Akil Jan,
Yes.
Eric Keplinger.
Yes.
Esmil Meeks.
Yes.
Lisa Murphy,
Yes.
Mike Standing,
Yes.
David Weiner,
Yes.
Dr. Weisenhuler.
Yes.